ever feel like you're just so tuned in to everyone else's emotions? You know, like you can practically feel what they're feeling. It's like you're right there with them.
It's more than just being sensitive, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. That's what we're diving into today, this whole world of empathy.
And to really unpack this, we're turning to Master Your Emotion by Brian L. McKenzie.
Such a good read. He goes way beyond just defining empathy. It's like he gives you this whole owner's manual for your emotions.
Absolutely. Like he even brings in the science of it, which I found fascinating. He talks about these things called mirror neurons.
Mirror neurons.
Yeah, so these are like cells in our brains that fire not only when we're doing something, but also when we see someone else doing that same thing.
Oh, wow.
It's like our brains are wired for connection to actually mirror each other's experiences.
So, like, my brain is throwing a little empathy party every time I connect with someone. That's kind of amazing.
Exactly. And the thing is, the activity level of these mirror neurons, it can be different for everyone.
Ah, okay. So, someone with like supercharged mirror neurons, they'd be picking up on like every single emotional shift in the room.
Precisely. And McKenzie suggests that might be why those who identify as empaths often need that solitude, that time to recharge.
Makes sense. It's like needing a break from all the feels, even if those feels are like generally positive.
He has this great line in the book. He says, "You're always on the run,
You're always on the run. Wow, that really resonates.
constantly bombarded by the energy of others."
Okay, so true. And then there's that whole other level of empathy where it's like you can just tell when someone's not being genuine. Ever get that?
Oh, absolutely.
It's like this weird spidey sense for BS.
McKenzie talks about that too. He says empaths can be like human lie detectors.
Really?
He calls it you can read a heart like a book.
And you can read a heart like a book. I love that.
It's like this ability to see past the words and really feel what someone's truly feeling, even if they're trying to hide it.
Which, let's be honest, most of us do at some point or another.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
that insight, it's invaluable. I mean, think about it in your relationships, in your work life, everywhere, really.
Totally. Okay, so we've established that empathy can be this incredibly powerful thing, but also kind of overwhelming at times.
Definitely.
But McKenzie doesn't just leave us hanging. He actually provides strategies for managing those intense emotions.
He does. And before we dive into those tools, I think it's important to touch on the historical context that McKenzie brings in.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
Well, he talks about this connection between empaths and, get this, witches.
Witches, like, wait, with the pointy hats and everything?
Not exactly. But what McKenzie points out is how, throughout history, folks who were deeply intuitive, who could sense emotions and energy in a way that others couldn't quite grasp,
Yeah.
they're often seen as different, even dangerous.
Wow. Yeah, I can see how that would happen.
Imagine back in the day if someone seemed like they could read your mind.
People would freak out.
Exactly. It's like, whoa, that's a little too witchy for me.
Seriously.
Yeah.
That's wild. It really makes you think about how far we've come in understanding different ways of experiencing the world.
For sure. And for empaths today, knowing this historical context can be incredibly validating.
Totally. It's like, oh, it's not just me. This is a thing.
Yeah. It's like finding out your great-great-grandmother was an Olympic athlete. It's in your DNA.
I love that analogy. Okay, so now that we've established that empathy is this powerful, sometimes overwhelming thing,
Right.
let's talk about how to work with it. Because McKenzie has some really interesting strategies for like protecting your energy when the world feels like a bit much.
He does. Some of them might surprise you.
All right, so crystals. Not what I was expecting, I have to say.
Right, like bring on the meditation and the deep breathing, but crystals.
Exactly. But McKenzie ties it all together. He explains how different crystals are thought to have different energetic properties.
It's almost like they're tools for shifting your own energy field.
Okay, I'm listening. He gives specific examples, right?
He does. So, for example, he suggests carrying citrine, for its sunny energy, to bring more positivity into your life.
Okay, so like if you're meeting up with that friend who always seems to bring the drama.
Exactly. McKenzie suggests having some citrine nearby could actually help shift the vibe.
Interesting. Like it sets a more positive tone.
That's the idea.
Yeah.
And for when you really need to, set those boundaries with energy vampires,
Oh, tell me more about this. This is fascinating.
he recommends calcite.
Calcite. Okay.
It's like creating this protective shield around your own energy
I love that.
to deflect all that negativity.
Okay, so it's like a force field, but with crystals.
Exactly. And when you're really feeling drained or like you need grounding, say, before a stressful meeting,
The worst.
he recommends black tourmaline.
Black tourmaline. Okay. Gotta get myself some of that.
It's like having an energetic bodyguard with you.
Okay, so I'm starting to see how this crystal thing could be helpful.
Right. Like, it's not about the crystal itself being magical.
It's more about the intention.
Exactly.
Okay, this is good stuff. So where do we go from here?
Well, McKenzie makes this fascinating connection between our environment, our physical space, and our mental state.
Oh, I can see that. Clutter and mess definitely stress me out.
Right. He argues that empaths, because of their heightened sensitivity, they're even more susceptible to that clutter.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Like it's bombarding your senses, making it hard to focus.
It's like your environment is just yelling at you to do a million things.
Exactly.
So how do we even begin to tackle that? I mean, decluttering itself can feel overwhelming.
McKenzie says start small.
Start small, okay?
Even dedicating like 1 hour a day to decluttering,
Okay.
it can make a huge difference over time.
1 hour, I can do that. But, sometimes it feels like you're not making any progress.
That's why it's important to celebrate those small wins.
Ooh, I like that. Okay, so not just decluttering, but also celebrating.
Exactly. Even if it's just like, I cleaned out 1 drawer.
Yes, small victories. But it's not just about getting rid of stuff, right?
No, absolutely not.
It's about being mindful of what you bring into your life in the first place.
Exactly. And that's where McKenzie's idea of prioritize ruthlessly comes in.
Prioritize ruthlessly. Okay, I like the sound of that.
It's about getting clear on what truly matters to you
Okay.
and then letting go of the rest.
Easier said than done sometimes.
Right. It can be. He even suggests making a list and tackling one thing at a time.
Oh, that's a good strategy for sure. Focus is key.
It is, especially for those who tend to get pulled in a million different directions.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
Okay, so we've got crystals, we're decluttering, and we're prioritizing like pros. What's next on the agenda for mastering our emotions?
Well, we can't forget about mindfulness.
Ah, yes, mindfulness. This is where I usually tune out, but Mackenzie's approach seems different.
It is. He makes it very practical.
Okay, good. Because I need practical.
It's about consciously choosing where your attention goes.
So, like, being present in the moment instead of letting my mind race a million miles an hour.
Exactly. And he's got some really great examples of how to practice mindfulness in everyday life.
Okay, now you're speaking my language. Give you the examples. Okay, examples. Hit me. What does this everyday mindfulness actually look like?
So picture this.
Yeah.
You're walking, right? To work, to grab lunch, whatever.
Okay, I'm walking.
Instead of just zoning out, thinking about your to-do list, McKenzie says, tap into your senses. Like, really see what's around you. What do you hear?
Oh, I see what you mean, like actually paying attention to the little details.
Exactly. It's about making the journey just as important as the destination.
Okay, so it's like sneaking in mini meditations throughout the day. I like it. I'm feeling calmer already.
Mm-hmm.
What else does Mackenzie suggest?
He also talks about using your breath to handle those, those moments, like right before a big presentation.
Oh, tell me about it. Or like a first date. The worst.
Exactly. He says it's not just about like forcing yourself to take a deep breath, though that helps.
Right.
It's more about really noticing your breath, feeling that inhale, that exhale.
Okay, so it's about being present with your breath, not letting those thoughts run wild. I can see how that would be grounding.
Exactly. And he even gets into this whole other thing, vagus nerve stimulation.
Vagus nerve stimulation. Okay, now you're just using big words to sound smart. What is that?
No, but really, it's actually fascinating. So the vagus nerve, it's this long nerve that connects your brain to like a bunch of your organs, your heart, your lungs, even your gut.
So it's like the communication highway between your brain and your body.
Exactly. And McKenzie explains that stimulating your vagus nerve can have this amazing calming effect on your whole system.
Yeah.
Like hitting the chill out button for your brain and your body at the same time.
Okay, I am on board with anything that helps me chill out. But how do you even stimulate your vagus nerve? Is that something I can do myself, or do I need like a special massage therapist?
You're going to love this. McKenzie says one of the simplest ways is just deep, slow breathing, especially focusing on a long exhale.
Wait, really? It's that easy?
Apparently, he says it directly triggers your relaxation response. He's even got more. Humming, singing.
Wait, so karaoke night just became therapeutic?
Right. Even gargling, believe it or not. Apparently those actions use muscles in the back of your throat that connect to your vagus nerve.
Okay, I'm adding gargle to my self-care routine. What else?
Oh, and this was my favorite. Cold exposure. Like a quick splash of cold water. Or a cold shower. Instant vagus nerve stimulation.
Okay, see, that tracks. Nothing like a good cold plunge to make you feel alive. So we've covered a lot of ground here. Crystals, decluttering, mindfulness, and now vagus nerve stimulation. Who knew?
Right. And it all comes back to understanding that connection between what's going on inside us and how that interacts with the world around us.
So master your emotion. It's less about like never feeling anything unpleasant and more about having the tools to navigate it all.
Exactly. It's about understanding how to create a life that feels aligned internally and externally. That's what McKenzie leaves us with anyway.
I love that. Well, on that note, we'll wrap up this deep dive into master your emotion. Thanks for joining us as we explored this fascinating world of empathy and beyond. Until next time, keep diving deep.